Well, this morning, Hurricane Helene continues to grow in the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico there. Right now, we've got some pictures here. It's calm in Tampa, but that's expected to change just within hours as Helene rapidly moves towards the Big Bend region, where it's expected to make landfall as a Category 3 or 4 later today.
It's going to be a major hurricane nonetheless. Yes. And let's take you now to the opposite end, all the way south, live in Key West this morning. Video frozen there briefly, but look at that storm surge, the waves crashing ashore, just covering the southernmost point in that famed buoy right there. There are concerns for the likelihood of life-threatening floodwaters when that surge could reach up to 20 feet in some of the hardest hit spots across the west coast of Florida. 20 feet. That's a lot of water. Thanks for waking up with us and spending your Thursday here on NBC6 Today. I'm Chris Anderson.
And I'm Constance Jones. NBC6 is on your side as the state braces for the potential impacts of this monster storm here behind us. Let's check in with our first alert meteorologist, Adam Berg, with the latest on the storm's track.
Yeah, and you guys were just showing that Key West camera there, and Chelsea is working hard back in the weather office as well, and she was looking at some reports, some buoys near Key West showing waves of over 10 feet, right? And that's on top of the water level rise that you're getting with this storm surge. So this is why you don't want to be anywhere near the coast, even when we're located almost 300 miles away from this system. That just shows you how large this wind field is. Key West, just under 300 miles away from the center of Helene. Helene right now 350 miles to the southwest of Tampa. Conditions will be much worse on the west coast of Florida than they're going to be for us. And then parts of the Big Bend area. And I'll be showing you some of these numbers here coming up in about 15 minutes. 20 feet of storm surge possible, over a foot of rain, just to kind of give you the tidbits on that. Winds 90 miles per hour right now around that center. So here we go. System sits about 270 miles to the west-southwest of Key West. We've been looking at tropical storm force wind gusts all morning long. And then for us here in Miami, just under 400 miles away, we've been in and out of tropical storm force wind gusts, 30 plus, then we go 40, 50. We saw some of those yesterday, and those tend to come with each one of these rain bands that pushes on through. We'll get those gusts to tropical storm force. More on that in a moment. Let's go ahead and show you the zoomed in short-term track. By this afternoon/evening, we could be talking about a Category 3 hurricane. That's 111 and greater, basically just south of Tampa latitude-wise. And then I kind of marked this little area roughly 9, 10 o'clock. We could be looking at landfall. This would be south of Tallahassee along the coast, east of Apalachicola, west of a small town called Fish City here in the Big Bend of Florida. And this is where the worst of the wind, rain, and storm surge will be. And then we could be looking at possible hurricane, weak hurricane for places like Albany in Georgia. So for us locally, 1 to 3 feet of storm surge for the Keys, 3 to 5 as you go around the bend of Fort Myers. Obviously much worse in the Big Bend of Florida. And we're seeing some strong wind gusts right now. We've been in the Tropical Storm Force Department all morning long, marathon here through Key West. And of course, we have a flood watch continuing as well. Much more on that, much more in your next 7 days, coming up here in about 15 minutes.
All right, Adam, thank you so much. South Florida is expected to get some rain and some heavy winds.
I was on a baseball field last night. One of those bands came through. Oof. All the kids' hats blew off. The rain started coming down. NBC6's Julia Bagg and her photographer, who is the one driving, by the way, have been going around all this morning, keeping an eye out for some of those rain bands. Things look calm right now, Julia, but just with the snap of a finger, if one of those bands comes through, it changes dramatically.
Chris, you know it, and we saw that this morning off of off of 836 and the Palmetto Expressway. We've been riding on I-75 now. Want to show you the turnpike near Northwest 106th Street, and that's actually looking pretty clear. We did drive through a smattering of rain a short while ago on Alligator Alley, but not much to speak of. So that's actually good news as we're kind of in between the tentacles of Helene, right? And you know, families who have faced flooding in the past, they're not taking any chances with this storm. They spent yesterday shoveling free sand to keep any high water from creeping into their homes. All of South Florida, of course, under a flood watch right now. And you know, for some college students who grew up here, Helene's approach means a choice to make. Do you stay put or do you come home to South Florida? And one person making that choice is my own godson, Matthew Rolfe. He's a freshman at Florida State University. He has decided to ride out the storm in his dorm in Tallahassee. He spoke with my sister Marissa yesterday. Have a listen to what he had to say.
So I guess that has me a little worried. And also the new environment does worry me a little bit. But for the most part, I feel okay.
And bringing you back out live again, looking not so bad on Florida's Turnpike. Schools in Broward and Monroe counties remaining closed this morning, but Miami-Dade schools are open. Chris, Constance.
All right, Julia Bagg live for us on the roadway there. And as people in Tallahassee, they are in preparation mode as Helene continues to make its way through the warm waters of the Gulf.
Yeah, again, Debbie, Adalia, all within the past 13 months. Now storm number 3, NBC's Jay Gray is in Tallahassee. He's been watching the storm very closely. He joins us live in Tallahassee with the latest on conditions. Now, this is the proverbial calm before the storm, Jay, but you've been seeing some bands?
Yeah, Chris, Constance, some spitting rain, at times a wisp of wind, but hey, nothing like we expect to see as we move into the day here. And you talked about it, a well-worn path into this area over the last 13 months, but this may be the most powerful storm they've seen in that time period. I mean, the National Hurricane Center is saying that it's going to be a monster, winds well over 100 miles an hour, and what they call a catastrophic and potentially deadly storm surge along the coast in the Big Bend region. It's going to be a real mess. And in areas like Tallahassee, which are inland, where we are, still right in the path of the storm right now, and if it passes through this area as a major hurricane, a big issue is going to be the trees. There's so many beautiful old oak trees here, pine trees as well, and those will likely be pulled down and bring with them power lines. And then to get to the hardest hit areas, what they're talking about here is having to cut their way in to get that debris, to get all of those giant trees out of the way so they can restore power, so they can help anyone who may have stayed behind here. And so that's something they're preparing for as well, and warning that it could be not hours or even days without power in some of these areas, but weeks. And so that's a real concern for a lot of people. The time to prepare, it's going to wrap up really quickly here. We're going to see things go downhill starting, middle of the day, and then as we get into the afternoon and evening, it's really going to intensify. And this storm is just grabbing that rocket fuel that is the warm waters in the Gulf. We watch it happen time after time, and that rapid intensification, still a 1 right now, but I think we're going to see that change pretty quickly as this storm is picking up some pace.
Well, Jay, as Chris just quickly mentioned, this is now the 3rd massive storm this area has been dealing with. What is the mood that? How are people feeling as they're preparing?
Yeah, they're worn out, they're frustrated, but they also understand the importance and the dangers involved with a storm of this magnitude. And thankfully, Constance, what we've seen is a lot of people, especially in some of the areas that are low-lying, move to higher ground, move outside of the strike zone. This thing ramped up very quickly and will continue to, and there wasn't a lot of time to prepare, maybe a couple of days, but people were ready, stuck to their hurricane plan. And again, the good news is even in areas like Tallahassee, where it was empty last night, we've seen a lot of people get out of the way of Helene.
Yeah, and you think about Tallahassee, school in session, Florida State, Florida A&M, just all the local colleges there.
Town, all of that.
All right, and maybe some of those students left. Jay, thanks so much. You stay safe during the storm. We're going to keep checking in with you for the latest on the conditions in our state capital.
Thank you.
Meantime, we want to shift our focus to Tampa this morning, also along the West Coast, where this is what it looks like right now. There is some heavy rain going on. The airport in Tampa, by the way, shut down last night. It's closed for operations today in preparation for Helene.
And of course, that's causing a ripple effect across our state, including right here in South Florida. NBC6's Bree Buckley. She's live at Miami International Airport with what's going on there. Are we seeing any delays as of yet?
Yeah, just about a handful of delays that we're seeing here, but so far the airport's been rather quiet, which is surprising for this time of morning here. As we've been hanging around, I want to show you the concourse here. As I mentioned, things rather quiet down there. According to FlightAware, we have about 10 delays here at MIA, 37 cancellations. That's just one more that has been added in about the last hour. Then at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport, we're seeing 6 delays, 18 cancellations. That's remained steady throughout the morning so far. The storm did cause delays and cancellations last night. We've spoken to some people who are sharing their story with us. Take a listen.
Supposed to go tomorrow to Dallas, but because of the weather, changed the plan. Instead of flying out from Miami to Dallas, I'm now flying from Fort Lauderdale to Dallas. Probably spend $500 just to buy a one-way extra ticket.
So right now you're looking at the security line here. This is checkpoint 3 and the concourse. We're seeing about a 15 to 20 minute wait at this one. The sign also says that if you go down a way to checkpoint 2, there is about a 30-minute wait to get through that security checkpoint there. So nothing crazy that we're seeing here so far. We've also talked to quite a few people who also tell us that they're not experiencing any delays and things have been smooth for them so far. Obviously, fingers crossed, they're hoping that that stays that way for the rest of their travel. Now reporting live at MIA, Bree Buckley, NBC 6 News.
All right, Bree, thank you for that update. Our team coverage continues with NBC 6's Sophia Hernandez from Fort Myers Beach with a closer look at how residents are preparing there.
As the storms roll in, residents of Fort Myers Beach get to work.
Better safe than sorry, and then once I'm done with this, then we'll evaluate on whether we're going to get off the islands, because safety is, primary concern.
Debbie Zeckley says she's learned not to underestimate a storm the hard way.
Ian, I lost my house on Hibiscus completely, and last week my new house was finished.
She shares the same story as Don Hunter, who lost everything in Ian.
We had to gut it. We had water all the way to the ceilings. And so now, actually, you should take a look.
Do you think that the previous storm, like Ian specifically, has made you more precautious, moving forward?
Absolutely, yes. Yes. If we hadn't lifted the house, we probably would have sold it.
The island, quiet, except for cars making their way off it. And on the side of the road, we found Mayor Dan Allers.
The 3 storms we've had over the last 2 years have been a wake-up call, I think, for people that when we tell them it's time to go, it's time to go.
The streets of vacation homes vacant, but some owners came just to guard their properties, telling me they've been impacted even by the small storms.
We had 8 feet in our house. Yeah. So got it all done and it's ready to go, and we don't want to start over again.
Sophia Hernandez, NBC 6 News.
Stay with NBC 6 as we bring you continuing coverage tracking Hurricane Helene before, during, and after the storm. We're going to bring you the latest updates on air, online, and also the NBC 6 app.
Things still pretty quiet in Broward so far on this Thursday, but right now we're seeing major delays off the Turnpike northbound extension just at Kendall Drive due to an accident there blocking one lane, but you can just see how backed up it's already, adding to those normal delays we normally see in that area. So again, there's an accident off of the Turnpike northbound extension right as you approach Kendall Drive. They're blocking one lane, causing major stop and go traffic. So if you have to head out in that direction, definitely give yourself some extra time and drive safe. We'll be right back right after this.